Today, I'm going back to my How to Become an IFA series, and we're looking at R02, which is Investment Principles and Risk. Now, I'm afraid to say this is one of the hardest RO exams because the pass rate is only about 60%. So if you know that going in, you know you can put all your effort and all your energy into swatting up on this as much as possible before you book that exam. This is a level 4 exam, and it's one of the exams you have to do to gain your diploma and become a financial advisor. So if you want to become an IFA, this has to be included in your repertoire. This exam is for all people who want to become an IFA, whether you're doing the diploma in financial planning or the diploma in regulated financial planning through the CII. You don't have to do this exam second. You don't have to work through the RO exams in numerical order, but it can be helpful because you can build your knowledge as you go along, and R06 certainly should be done last. The CII recommends you need 60 hours of study to complete this successfully, although I have to say I think you probably need more than that to give yourself the best chance to pass. And once you do pass the exam, you get 20 credits. Now, you need 100 credits in total to pass the diploma, so this is 1/5 of those credits. As I did with R01, I'm just going to go through the learning outcomes for R02, and then I'll just dig a bit more into some tips to help you study and to help you pass. But first of all, learning outcomes. There are 9 learning outcomes for R02. The first one is to analyse the characteristics, inherent risks, behaviour and correlation of asset classes. In the exam, that has 17 standard format questions or 11 multiple response questions. I'll be going through the detail of those in a little bit about what the difference is between those sorts of questions. Learning outcome number 2, understand the macroeconomic environment and its impact on asset classes. That has 6 standard format questions. Number 3, understand the merits and limitations of the main investment theories. That is 7 standard format questions. Number 4, apply the principles of the time value of money. That's 3 standard format questions. Number 5, analyse and explain the nature and impact of the main types of risk on investment performance. That's 5 standard format questions. This next one is a big one. Analyse the characteristics, inherent risks, behaviours and relevant tax considerations of investment products. That's 15 standard format questions or 7 multi-response questions. Number 7, apply the investment advice process. That's 11 standard format questions. Number 8, understand the principles of investment planning. That's 8 standard format questions. And number 9, analyse the performance of investments. That is 10 multi-response questions. So let's just clarify the standard format to the multi-response questions. I did do this in R01, but if you're coming at this with fresh eyes and you've not watched that one, then this should help you work out what the difference is. A standard format question means you get 1 question asked and you have usually 4 or 5 options, and only one of those options is the correct answer. A multi-response question means you get 1 question and you have 4 or 5 answers to choose from, but more than one of those questions is correct. Sometimes the question will tell you how many are correct, mostly though it won't, and you just have to guess how many are going to be correct. But in a multi-response question, it's always more than one that is correct, and it is never all of the options. So generally you're looking at 2 to 4 probably answers that could be correct. But these are the trickiest questions, and in a moment I'll go through a bit more information about them and which chapters are likely to contain these questions, so you can swat up on those in a bit more detail. So R02 really digs into investments, different types of investments, how they operate and the tax implications of them. And this can be a bit tricky for some people who perhaps don't have investment experience because it's an area that is really quite technical, but I enjoyed it more to get my teeth stuck into because it's actually something that I use still today on a regular basis. So it's more practical and something you will use once you're an IFA. All right, let's get stuck into some tips then for passing R02. There's a lot of content here, and it's really about how you study and not how much you study. So the quality of your studying is more important than the quantity of it. A lot of people actually prefer to learn through actually doing things, so highlighting textbooks or listening to audio versions of textbooks, things like that, making notes as they go. Rarely do people find passive learning, which is just reading, is the best form of learning. But each to their own, everyone has different learning styles, so just make sure you know what sort of learner you are and apply that to your studying for R02. Going back to the multiple response questions, there are several chapters which are key here. So those are chapters 1, 7, 8, section L of chapter 10 and chapter 11. Now, they account for all of the multiple response questions and 46% of the remaining marks in the exam. They account for 28 of the 100 marks that are available in the exam. And so if you're not getting at least half of those right, you will find it a struggle to successfully complete the exam. So it is really important that you practice the multiple response options. I'll go through in a moment the different areas you can find practice papers to do, but it is important you practice them, and really it's a process of elimination, I think. Eliminate what you know is definitely not accurate and what is more likely to be the right answer. They are tough, I know, I've been there, but practice does help with that. A lot of people also tend to focus on stuff that they know, when really you need to be learning and focusing on things that you don't know. You might already have expertise in certain areas because of the job that you do or what you already know, so make sure you're focusing on chapters and areas that you really don't know that well. For the exam itself, if you don't know the answer, have a guess. There's no negative marking in the CII multiple choice exams, so if you really don't know an answer, just have a guess at it. You're not going to lose a mark, and there is a chance you could get it right, and that could help you complete the exam successfully. So have a guess, have a stab in the dark. You can flag questions as you go through, so I would suggest putting any answer if you're really not sure and flagging it, and then going back to it at the end if you've got some time left over, but never leave a question unanswered. I would also suggest you practice, practice, practice. There is Revision Mate, which you have access to through the CII, and that has multiple choice exam questions that you can try, and you can also purchase from the CII some past papers that you can go through in their entirety. I would do those under a timed condition, so you get a feel for what the exam will feel like under pressure. Also gives you an idea of what the CII wording is like in terms of the questions they're going to ask you and the options they will give you. I would also suggest you read the exam questions more than once while you're in the exam. You will feel under pressure when you're doing the exam, but just try and stay calm. Read the question through at least twice so you can see if there are any double negatives or any sort of things that you need to be aware of. But the CII never put useless information into a question. So if they're giving you various bits of information in the question, make sure you take in all of it, because it will impact the correct answer. And also make sure you take a calculator with you into the exam, because you are likely to need it. Well, you will definitely need it. You'll probably get asked to do calculations relating to stamp duty, land tax, family allowances for ISA contributions, running yields, time value of money, all those sorts of things. So make sure you take your calculator into the exam with you. The assessment itself is a 2-hour exam with 100 questions, 72 standard questions and 28 multi-response questions. The pass rate is 60%, as I said at the beginning, so that is quite a tough exam to do, but just go in as well prepared as you can be, and the pass mark is around 65%. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button below, and I'll be back in a few months' time to do R03.